Broadcasting down in the bayou, it's Mark Out Mania, a podcast featuring two average Joe wrestling fans talking about the business they love and so much more. And now, here's Ryan Keith and Patrick Fry.
And welcome to episode 11 of Mark Out Mania. Patrick, what's up, man?
Not much, man. A big week and with some couple of big stories. One of them not so good, of course, that we're going to dive into. The rundown for Mark Out Mania, episode number 11 for January the 14th, 2018. We're going to talk the Paige injury. Is her in-ring career done? That's what everyone's saying. Mark Henry retired today as well. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, Dave Meltzer, since the last time we were on the air, did come out with his match ratings for Wrestle Kingdom 12. We'll talk about that. Also, New Beginnings coming up January 27th, 28th, and February the 10th. We will talk about that as well. We will review Raw. We will review Smackdown, talk the Royal Rumble and the participants. Also, the Rumor Mill, a couple of things to talk about in the Rumor Mill as well. And also Austin Aries doing pretty well for himself after leaving WWE. We'll talk about what Austin Aries has been up to as well. And go ahead, right, Ryan, and pimp our social media.
Yes, and you can find us at the Central Hub, MarkOutMania.com. Find us on all the social media platforms, as well as where you can download the podcast at MarkOutMania.com. We still got the limited run of the Mark Out Nation t-shirts, so if you want to grab you one of those. Yeah, I think there is 12 days left in the limited 20-day run, so that's at MarkOutMania.com. And also, if you would like to hear this show live and uncut, every time we record, only $1 a month on our Patreon account can give you that access to our Discord server. And, of course, you can link to that at MarkOutMania.com. And speaking of Patreon, Patrick, tell them what we got going on today.
We got a special guest here on the podcast today for the first time ever. One of our Patreon, and this is what you get if you sign up for Patreon. You get to be on the show live, whether it's in the studio. Thank God it's 2018. We have great technology. Live via Skype. Our buddy, our Patreon one of our Patreon members, all the way live via satellite from Basile, Louisiana. Cruz Smith, what's going on, dude?
What up?
Cruz.
Cruz Smith, of course, joining us. Cruz, tell them, all the Mark Out Mania listeners a little bit about yourself. You used to watch wrestling way back in the day. You kind of stopped, and now you found this, you experienced New Japan for the first time, and that really kind of got you back into wrestling. But tell us, give us a little bit of background. When did you start watching wrestling? Who were your favorite wrestlers? What did you watch?
As far back as I can remember, I watched wrestling. My dad was a huge wrestling fan, back old Mid-South and all that, so I grew up with all of that, and I've been to, younger, I went to a lot of live shows and stuff, and we mostly watched WCW, but that's what we were into, and one of my favorite wrestlers from that time was Sting, huge Sting fan, always been a Sting fan.
Hell yeah.
And then once, WWE bought WCW, we had to transition to WWE, and, during the Attitude Era and everything, that was just crazy. And then I don't know what happened. I got older, or it got worse, or I'm not sure, but I just was like, you know what, I'm done with this. And then here recently, our buddy Brink introduced us to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it changed my life forever.
Yeah, it's kind of changed my life too, because, I so used to watching WWE, and I watched a little WCW as well, but mostly WWE, and that's all I really knew. And then Brink introduced me to New Japan, and it took, I'm still getting used to it, obviously. It does take a lot of getting used to because the culture and the way they do things are totally different, but I'm a fan. I mean, I can see why New Japan is up and coming. I mean, they're getting the names. They drew Jericho into Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah. I mean, that says a lot right there. And you've had some guys that have gone through there. Kurt Angle's gone through there. AJ Styles has gone through there. I think Daniel Bryan's gone through there. Now you got the likes of Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. You got Okada, who right now is arguably the best wrestler in the world. He has one of the greatest title reigns maybe of all time in any organization.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar was there as well.
Also Brock Lesnar, a former IWGP heavyweight champion as well. So they've had the names, but now in this day and age with, the WWE has the network, now New Japan has their own little network, They're getting the exposure here in America, and they also did have the G1 special in Los Angeles last year. So really cool that New Japan is really starting to become relevant, not only just in Japan and around the world, but here in America, where WWE really is king.
I'll tell you what, New Japan needs to put Brink on payroll. This dude is getting so many new viewers for New Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you know what fascinates me about you growing up with WCW, and I did as well, until Vince Russo ruined it all. Thanks a lot, Vince Russo. But one of the most fantastic things WCW did was obviously the NWO. And I'm always wondering, how close was Hogan being the third member? How close was that to the vest? Was that just between Hogan, the Outsiders, and Bischoff? Because when he was coming to the ring, the Weasel was running it. He was like, could he be the third member? And I'm like thinking,
is he the third man?
Yeah, I'm thinking at the time, there's no way Hulk Hogan is the third man. He's coming in there to wreck shop. So I don't know if he didn't know anything about it and he was just playing his heel role, or if, he actually knew what he was saying. That's
one of the greatest heel turns in the history of wrestling. Hulk Hogan Absolutely. Coming out there and joining the NWO. I mean, talk about, in my opinion, rejuvenated his career. I mean, unbelievable. So what were, you were a big Sting fan, Cruz, and WCW. I mean, the NWO was big. Goldberg was big. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of guys that went through WCW as well. It's a shame that, it seemed like management just, because somebody described it perfectly. Cruz, I don't know if you've ever, or Ryan, I don't know if y'all have ever watched the Monday Night War documentaries.
Yes.
On the WWE Network. It's a really, really, I recommend any wrestling fan who especially watched wrestling at that time, whether it was WCW or WWF at the time, now WWE, go watch those. They're on the WWE Network. I think it's like a 10-part documentary series where they kind of touch on, there's one episode they talk about Goldberg, they talk about Austin McMahon, they talk about the cruiserweights in WCW, they talk the NWO, they talk about how, the NWO, obviously there were guys going back and forth between WCW and WWE. It's a really good series. Cruz, I think you would love it. You need to check it out if you ever get the chance, but back then that was the time to be a wrestling fan, and there were so many things going on that, and of course, like I said, I always watched WWE, but WCW had a lot of things going for it. Like, other than Sting, Cruz, what are some of the things that you really remember that stood out to you in WCW?
Obviously, the NWO thing, that was a huge point in WCW. That it was just disheartening whenever Hogan took that belt and spray painted the NWO on there. It's like, you person. And trying not to cuss there.
Thank you.
And, then they do the red and black NWO, and you're like, whoa, there's another side to it and all that stuff. And I'm trying to think of there's so much that could be said about it.
Yeah, man.
There's so much in
the Steiners.
Oh man, the Steiners from back in the Gap, not like the new age ones with like the blonde hair and the I'm Big Papa Pump, not those guys. The old Steiners, those guys were so dominant.
We're wearing the Michigan football jacket Steiners.
Yeah, and the wrestling headgear Steiners. Yeah, and the sweet mullet Steiners.
God bless the mullets. I tell you what, somebody in WCW, and I don't know if you were a fan, Cruz, that didn't get his due was Vampiro. This dude was a rock star in Mexico. When he got signed to WCW, they didn't use him. They put him in stupid matches, and this guy was a big dude that could move like a cruiserweight. He was absolutely amazing. I don't know why they didn't use him better. Vince Russo's why, probably.
Yeah, a lot of this, so many mixed feelings about Vince Russo, but it is what it is. He's done some crazy things, and some have worked, some have not, but it is what it is. But we have Cruz on today. We're going to dive into some wrestling news, a big story this week, the possibly career-ending injury for Paige, and what a rough time to get that kind of injury. Really was a freak accident. I'm sure most wrestling fans, if you haven't seen the video, it was at a house show, a live event. It was probably a 6-woman tag match. It was Absolution taking on like Sasha Banks, Bayley, and I forget who else. But basically what happened was Sasha Banks kicked Paige kind of in the back, upper back towards the neck area, and they stopped the match. They had to stop it because Paige got hurt, and now that injury, they're comparing it to Edge's injury that forced him to retire back in 2011, and now Paige's in-ring career could be done right before the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. And I mean, everything that Paige has gone through with, obviously Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox and Alberto Del Rio and everything that went on while she was hurt, it's like you come back, you have this new stable, things seem to be going well, and then this happens. The absolute worst. Ryan, I don't know how much you really pay attention to, Cruz. I don't know how much you really have paid attention to this story, but what have you heard or what have you seen? I mean, what do you think about the fact that Paige, this really one of the big women stars in WWE, now possibly never being able to wrestle again in a WWE ring?
Well, I had seen I don't know if it was like a Facebook post or a tweet or you guys did it. It all kind of runs together, but I had seen that there was the possibility that it was career ending and all that, which you got to admit sucks because even though I'm just getting back into wrestling, I knew who Paige was. Maybe it was for reasons other than wrestling, but I knew who Paige was.
Yep.
And the fact that she's that big, she comes back, that was a big hype thing, Man, is Paige going to be back this Raw? Is she going to be back this pay-per-view? What about this Raw? Constantly, when she coming, then she comes. And just to have this happen to her, it's kind of a can't catch a break type situation, It's like so many things are happening, and it just ends her career like that.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities now that Paige come back, obviously Asuka on the main roster now. I have a feeling that we were going to see that match at some point this year. That would have been a really good match, Asuka and Paige. I mean, Ryan, what do you think, man? This is a tough blow, not only for Paige, but the women's division. I mean, she's arguably one of the top heels in the women's division.
Yeah, and it's so sad. She's so young, 25. And
younger than me.
And the thing about Paige is wrestling is life. She grew up, her parents were wrestlers. They ran a wrestling promotion in the UK. That's all she's ever known, and all she's ever wanted to be was a professional wrestler. So for something like this to take her livelihood away, and they all know every night in the ring could be their last. But to be so young and it to be your last, I hope her psyche's in the right spot, because we heard a lot of news coming out when those sex tapes came out and with all the news like that she was contemplating suicide and stuff like that, ending her life over this. So I hope she's in a good spot. I know that WWE offers a lot of counseling for their wrestlers, so I hope they have her surrounded by some good people to keep some good thoughts in her head at this moment in time. Her in-ring career may be over, but she would be a great manager, a great valet, because she's great on the mic. You stick her with a heel dude, maybe a new heel that you have coming in, and she would be great, pulling shenanigans on the outside of the ring, and just looking hot.
Yeah, they were talking about putting her in an on-screen role, obviously that, a non-wrestling on-screen role. And I like that idea, but now, I've already seen the speculations that when her contract is over, which I don't know when her contract is over, but maybe her and Daniel Bryan scoot on over to Ring of Honor when their contracts expire, because WWE is not going to let her wrestle. I think that's pretty much set in stone that she's not going to wrestle for WWE anymore, but that doesn't necessarily mean other wrestling promotions wouldn't want her to come in and wrestle for them. I mean, while I'm sure they're cautious on injuries and stuff like that. I mean, if I'm Ring of Honor, Paige wants to come wrestle, come on down. And then I think Ring of Honor just started, they just introduced a new women's championship or a new women's division, something like that. So, I mean, what perfect way for Ring of Honor to really kind of get that thing going than to get Paige to show up at Ring of Honor. But then again, I don't know how much Paige has left on her contract. I would think it's a good little while that she has left. I don't know if she can get out of it. I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. But Ryan, real quick, what do you think this means for Absolution, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose?
And that's another thing. Cruz was talking about the build-up, which I was totally marking out for the build-up. Mm-hmm. But when she came and finally showed up, it didn't have much impact on me. I was like, oh, so this is it. So this is the return, huh?
Yeah.
And then when she came up with her faction, I was like, man, this is it was almost lame to me. I don't know what it was. I thought I would be a total mark for it, But when it happened, I was like, man, I don't know. So I think they're just going to fade into obscurity. They'll probably use them for the Royal Rumble, and then they might demote them back down to NXT.
I don't know, because if that's the bad thing about these kind of injuries. It derails this momentum, or this thing that you're trying to get momentum for, this Absolution faction, and now your leader. Of course, you can still have Paige be the leader and have DeVille and Rose be a tag team, but I don't know. It's
and I love me some Mandy Rose too.
Oh, I love me some Mandy Rose.
Now the thing about it is, obviously, those two girls were there only so that they could get beat up, and then Paige could come in and as less wrestling as she could, get the finish. But I don't see any storylines for him now.
Yeah, so definitely a heartbreaking story for Paige, as pretty much her in-ring WWE career is over. And speaking of careers being over, Mark Henry officially announced his retirement. Mark Henry from not far down the road from where we are in Lake Charles, from Silsbee, Texas. Mark Henry at one time considered the world's strongest man. He was a former Olympian and started his WWE career back in the mid-'90s. So he's been around for a little while, and I tell you what, looking back at Mark Henry's career, at one time he was world heavyweight champion, I believe, so he was a world champion at one time. But I tell you what, I really enjoyed, and we talked a little bit about this before we actually started recording the podcast, but way back in the day, Cruz, I know you remember Mark Henry back in the day, back in his old sexual chocolate. Yeah, man. And he had that storyline with Mae Young. I mean, that right there, that just goes to show you just how sick some of these storylines were back in the Attitude Era, where WWE's practically fighting for their lives, and they said, well, you know what, let's have a gimmick or a storyline where Mark Henry and Mae Young are lovers. And
when they would kiss, that would turn my stomach, dude.
I think at the time I was probably about 9 years old watching this stuff. I mean, can you imagine a 9-year-old me watching this stuff? And it didn't disgust me, because at the time I didn't quite understand it. And when she gave birth to that hand, I was just like, I didn't know what really. Honestly, I didn't really know what was going on. It was just crazy. But that's just some of the memories I have of Mark Henry. And then obviously, he had many great heel runs. And another one of my favorite moments from Mark Henry was back in 2013. He actually had a segment with John Cena where it looked like he was going to announce his retirement, and then ended up giving Cena the world's strongest slam, and I got a lot left in the tank, and he was really jacked up there with Cena. That was a really good promo there. And
he really fooled me, too.
He did, yeah. And I mean, he came out, he had the nice suit on, wearing that salmon pink suit, and I mean, it seemed legitimate, because Mark Henry had been around for so long that at any given time was going to be could have been his last time in the ring. And now, y'all may or may not agree with me with this, but in my opinion, Mark Henry deserved an on-screen send-off. This just officially retiring in the news articles, news articles and all that. He deserved an on-screen send-off. Some it didn't have to be like at a WrestleMania or whatever. Maybe have him in the Royal Rumble and have him make a nice little run in the Royal Rumble and then send him off like that. I don't know, but I think he deserves a better send-off than what he's getting, so that's just my opinion. What do y'all think as far as, getting the send-off, Ryan? What do you think? Yeah,
no, agreed, man. This guy was a huge part of your promotion. You pushed him hard, and, that's the least you could do, in my opinion.
Cruz, what do you think? I mean, if you had to fantasy book a way to send Mark Henry out, I mean, what would you do?
I don't know. That was a pretty good one right there. Let him go into the Royal Rumble, let him do a little something, and then, afterwards be like, well, guys, this is my last time. Thank you all for everything. That way it's not like just news articles. It's like, that's almost like getting a breakup text. It's pretty, it hurts a little bit,
because I think they could have got away with having Mark Henry come in, 25th, 26th, somewhere around there, have Mark Henry eliminate a handful of people be in the Final Four. You could have Mark Henry and, maybe a Nakamura, a Finn Balor, and a Roman Reigns left, and have Mark Henry in there. And hell, they could have Roman Reigns eliminate him himself. I mean, they build Roman Reigns up so much that he can easily eliminate Mark Henry on his own. So that's just my opinion. I think they should have sent him off a little bit better because he's been a workhorse for that company for a long time. He's been loyal to that company. I don't think he's going to, since he started in WWE, I don't think he's gone to any other major wrestling promotion. He's been WWE through and through. So it sucks that they didn't really get a chance to send him off the way he should have been sent off. But Mark Henry officially retiring from WWE.
I tell you what, do y'all remember, speaking of the sexual chocolate gimmick, when Mae Young took that through the table bump with the Dudley Boys?
Oh, my, yes.
I thought they were going to kill her, but she survived it. She's a beast, or she was a beast.
Yeah, well, the Mae Young was, she could take a bump. I tell you what, as an old lady, man, getting power bombed through tables and stuff, I mean, absolutely unbelievable that you can be that, that old and get power bombed by Bubba Ray Dudley through a table off the entranceway. I mean, Jesus Christ! Oh,
I also forgot. We forgot to go over the Paige Facebook poll.
Oh yes, Paige Facebook poll. There's been a lot of talk about if it was Sasha Banks' fault, then people should blame Sasha Banks for it. So what is the poll?
Right. So we put on our Facebook poll, Mark Out Mania, to search it. Do you blame Sasha Banks for Paige having to retire? So far, we got 210 votes.
A lot of votes.
What do you think 29% of the people said?
29%, I think, said yes.
Cruz?
I think 29% said yes as well.
You are correct. 29% said yes, 71% said no.
And I agree, because I voted, and I voted no. It's not Sasha Banks' fault because, like somebody said on Reddit, if you don't blame Samoa Joe for Tyson Kidd, and if you don't blame Seth Rollins for Sting, then you can't blame Sasha Banks for Paige, because what Seth Rollins did to Sting in the ring, what Samoa Joe did to Tyson Kidd in the ring, I think it was Samoa Joe or somebody, or might have been even Rollins that injured Tyson Kidd, I think, because Seth Rollins has had a...
Samoa Joe was still an Impact.
Yeah, I think so. So... but they were saying, if you don't blame those guys for injuring those other people, you can't blame Sasha Banks for injuring Paige. I mean, it's the nature of the business. It is what it is. It's highly unfortunate. I mean, it's really sad because there's so many guys out there. Like, nobody blamed Owen Hart for Stone Cold having his career shortened. So, and if you want to blame somebody for his career being shortened, it would be Owen Hart. But you can't blame him because it is the nature of the business.
Do we blame Vince Russo for Owen Hart?
Well, I don't know. I'd say no, but not as big of a no as somebody injuring somebody else in the ring. Yeah. As far as the idea of him coming through down the rafters, you can blame him a little bit more, but at the same time, I really don't know who you can blame in an instance like that. I mean, that's just something. That's one of those, that's death right there that you're dealing with, and you don't really want to put that on anybody. And injury is a lot easier to put on somebody than death. I mean, that's unbelievable. So I won't go as far as to absolutely blame Vince Russo, but if Vince Russo, didn't have the idea, I mean, I guess you can argue if Vince Russo didn't have the idea that Owen Hart would still be living today, yes, but I would never blame somebody unless they intentionally killed someone like that.
Speaking of WCW, the same rigging company that did Sting in WCW was the company that did Owen Hart that night.
Well, Sting, if that's the case, Sting has evaded many near-death experiences the many times he came down from the rafters. So, definitely not Sasha's fault. I mean, what do you think? You agree, Cruz? Not Sasha's fault?
Yeah. Totally not. In fact, you used my example that I was going to say. I mean, we don't blame Owen Hart for Stone Cold Steve Austin. So we can't blame Sasha for Paige. We do blame him for not having a tombstone in wrestling anymore, but, whatever.
And it's not just a tombstone. It's pretty much all pile drivers now, because with the WWE and their concussions thing, they are really trying to limit the amount of finishing moves that involve the head hitting the mat. So especially just, when you got them in a pile driver, I mean, your opponent is literally upside down, head first into the mat. That's they are definitely trying to eliminate that, which is good. I understand that because you don't want to, because not only a guy like Stone Cold's career cut short, you got a guy like Edge who his career was cut short. Daniel Bryan, his WWE career is cut short at least because of it. So hopefully going forward, those the rules they make like that will help the longevity of some of these guys' careers, because when you get these guys in the ring like a Stone Cold and like a Daniel Bryan that really getting hot and then their careers are ended abruptly, it just sucks.
Yeah, let's go over some of these comments real quick. Doge Singh says, that's a horrible double-footed kick right to the back from virtually point-blank range. Terrible, terrible move from Sasha. She should hang her head in shame, because that is the very definition of career ending. It might not have been intentional, but the more I see, the more I think it was. Martin Christian says, any idiot that says Sasha is to blame should delete their Facebook account. And this guy was pretty hot about the poll. Richard Davis says, there has been no announcement yet, so stop spreading fake news. Well, this news comes from PW Insider, buddy.
So, yeah, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. And then, let's see. Also, Martin says, it's wrestling, not ballet, you nut. Let's see. Oh, Michael Bob blames Seth Rollins. Let's see. King's Ipnum says, this is nonsense question.
I'm still waiting for someone to blame Obama or Trump for this.
And Douglas Isabel says, no, Sasha is not to blame. You know why? Because each time these male and female superstars step foot in the ring, they all know what could or could not happen.
So there you go. Those are the comments there for the poll, at least. The results of the poll, 71% saying no. I think we all agree here, not Sasha's fault, because it's just the nature of the business. So moving on now, of course, Wrestle Kingdom was, according to the calendar, 10 days ago, and Dave Meltzer came out with his match ratings, and I'm going to go over them real quick. Cruz, I know you watched Wrestle Kingdom. After I go over the things, tell us what you'll tell us, what your favorite match was, and if you agree or disagree with some of these star ratings. So let's go here. The New Japan Rumble, 1.5 stars. Not much love there. Young Bucks, Roppongi 3K, 4 stars. The Gauntlet match only got 2.5 stars, which overall, in parts of the match, Dave Meltzer gave like 0.75 stars, 1.5, and 2.75. Cody Rhodes and Ibushi, 4.25 stars. The Killer Elite Squad, Sonata and Evil, 4 stars. Goto and Suzuki got 4.5 stars. I heard a lot of good things about that match. Also, the Fatal 4-Way for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, 4.75 stars. Jay White and Tanahashi, 3.75 stars. Omega and Jericho gets 5 stars, and Okada and Naito get 4.5 stars. So, according to Dave Meltzer's ratings, the best match of the night was Omega and Jericho. Cruz, you watched New Japan. What are your thoughts on some of these ratings, and if Jericho Omega was the best match or not?
I think Jericho and Omega was the best match because I'm an Omega mark hardcore. But
me too.
But I think Okada Naito should have been right up there with him. That was a great match. Do I think that the Fatal 4-Way was better than the Okada Naito match? Absolutely not. Do I think it was good? Yes. So I don't think that it should have been rated higher, but it should have been rated high. The Goto Suzuki match, that was madness. It should get 4 stars just for Goto getting choked out.
So you would say, other than obviously Omega, Jericho, and Naito, Okada, take those 2 matches out of the equation because those were the co-main events. The best match, other than those 2, was the Fatal 4-Way?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, that's what Brink was saying, and I would agree. Also, a good match, I think that was up there, was Cody and Ibushi. That was a real. It had some really, really good moments in it. In my opinion, one of the best spots of the night was the crossroads off the apron. That was a really cool match, a really cool spot there in that match. Have you watched some of the matches?
I've watched some of them, but what sticks out to me, and I know as a wrestler, you're probably not putting in too much stock what Dave Meltzer says about your match or what rating it is. Obviously, you want to get a good rating because the fans look at Dave Meltzer's ratings.
Yeah.
But how brutal would it be to be in that segment of the match that got 0.75?
That's in an organization that rarely gets that low of a rating. I mean, New Japan's always putting on at least, on average, 3-star matches, and you get a 0.75. I mean, hey, I don't know, but that's the Wrestle Kingdom match ratings. You said Kenny Omega. You said it was in an interview. You said something. You have something.
Yeah.
Omega?
So everybody knows the segment where Cody and Omega were having heat. They were pushing each other, getting really elevated with each other. Well, Kenny had an interview with Tokyo Sports, and he was talking about what happened between him and Cody, and he says that he felt that Cody went into business for himself when he attacked Kota Ibushi after the match at New Year's Dash. And he said he came in there and he stopped it because, quote, "That's the kind of thing Jericho would do, or Suzuki Gun. I don't want that from the Bullet Club. I want us to be the best in-ring bell to bell. I'll have to go back to Canada, take a break, and think about this."
Well, how about that? So that's what Omega had to say. Now, looking forward in New Japan coming up, Cruz, I'm sure you might be a little excited about New Beginnings coming up. A couple of all these big-time main event matches that we're going to have here. The way this is set up, for those of you who don't know, there's going to be a 2-day event in Sapporo, I think is how you say it over in Japan. New Beginnings, that's January 27th and the 28th. That is the weekend of the Royal Rumble. And then also there's going to be a third New Beginnings that will take place on February the 10th, which is Mardi Gras weekend here in Louisiana. Just kind of going down the match card here for the January 27th New Beginning in Sapporo. First match, 20 minutes time limit. This is a Kitamura Best of 7 series. This is the second match. Cruz, do you know who won the first match between Elgin and Kitamura?
I do not. I should probably know that, but I don't.
Well, either way, this is the second match in a best of 7. Elgin versus Kitamura. That match will kick off the January 27th edition. The second match looks like a 5-on-5. You have Kushida, Tiger Mask, Jushin, Thunder Liger, Kojima, and Tenzan taking on Taka Michinoku, El Desperado, Taichi, Kanemaru, and Aizuka. I don't know. I'm going to start butchering some of these names here. The next match will be
good.
Yano and Ishii taking on Chase Owens and Takahashi. Then you have the Never Openweight 6-man Tag Team Championship. Loa Tonga and Bad Luck Fale taking on Taguchi, Hanare, and Maccabi. Then you have the 3-on-3. It's, David Finlay, Juice Robinson, and Kota Ibushi taking on Cody, Hangman Page, Marty Scurll. The 6th match of the night will be a tag team match. Will Ospreay, Yoshihashi taking on Takahashi and Naito. The 7th match, there's a lot of matches, 9 matches in this show here. This one is Bushi, Evil, Sonata taking on Okada, Goto, and Gedo. Gedo, or Gedo, I guess, however you want to say it. Gedo. And then you have the next match, Sho, Yo, and Jay White taking on the Elite, Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson, and Kenny Omega.
Dang.
And then the main event for that night is the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, Tanahashi and Suzuki. So now we go on to the next night. Let's see. The third match in that best of 7 will take place with Juice Robinson. Well, apparently he's taking on multiple people because he was taking on, let's see here, Elgin on the 27th, and he'll be fighting Juice Robinson on the 28th. So I guess this Kitamura best of 7 thing, he's facing different people. He's not facing the same exact person every time. But we're going to scroll down here to save a little bit of time. Let's see. The IWGP Junior Tag Team Championships, it'll be the Young Bucks taking on Sho and Yo in a rematch of Wrestle Kingdom. That'll be the January 28th night. Also, the U.S. Heavyweight Championship, Omega will defend against Jay White that night. That's the only other 2 title matches that night. And then looking ahead on February the 10th, the 6th match, I guess, of this series, Kitamura is taking on Nagata. And then let's see what other. The IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, Will Ospreay will take on Takahashi. The Never Openweight Championship, Goto will be taking on Evil. And, of course, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, Okada will be taking on Sonata. So that's January 27th, 28th, and February the 10th. And my throat is starting to hurt now from saying all that, trying to say all these Japanese names. So, Cruz, I know you're looking forward to that. That's going to be pretty cool. Also, that'll be going on Royal Rumble weekend, those first 2 nights. So, with that being said, let's move ahead now to Monday Night Raw as time-wise now, looking at the timer. Yeah, time to head on over to Monday Night Raw. I'm going to go over the results real quick, and we'll jump into a little discussion here on Monday Night Raw. Bayley and Sasha Banks defeated Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Matt Hardy defeated Kurt Hawkins. Cedric Alexander defeated Enzo Amore by disqualification in the Cruiserweight title match. Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil defeated Sheamus and Cesaro. That is a big win for those two guys to get a win over the bar like that. Samoa Joe defeated Rhino, and the Bullet Club, Finn Balor, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows defeated Jason Jordan, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. Now, just looking at that, Cruz, I know you watched Monday Night Raw, and as big of a New Japan fan that you are, I don't know if you're aware or not, but obviously Gallows, Anderson, and Finn Balor used to all be members of the Bullet Club, which is the shirt you're currently wearing that nobody can see, but we can see it, so we know you're a big Bullet Club fan. What do you think about this reformation on Raw? Because it looks like WWE is trying to run with this Finn Balor, Gallows, and Anderson gimmick, Bullet Club gimmick going forward.
I mean, what took them so long?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking, because I think this is the speculation as to why they're reforming these 3 guys is because they attempted to reform the Shield, and Roman had gotten sick at first. Now Dean's hurt, so the reunion of the Shield in a way has fallen through. So now they need to get another 3-man faction, and when you have Balor, Gallows, and Anderson at your fingertips, somebody said Bullet Club, and apparently the writers and the producers agreed, and now I think it's starting to kind of take off, because you don't really know if they're supposed to be a face or if they're supposed to be a heel. I think they're supposed to be a heel, but I don't know. It's hard to really tell, but I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far from the Bullet Club.
Yeah, or they call them the Balor Club, right?
Yeah, it's the Balor Club. But I think the WWE has used the term Bullet Club on their on their Twitter.
Oh, wow.
So you can go back and look at their Twitter. When they first formed, they used hashtag Bullet Club, and I think even the Young Bucks had basically replied cease and desist on them at some point on Twitter. But
didn't Finn Balor, when he was Prince Devitt, didn't he start Bullet Club? So I wonder if he owns the trademark to it or anything. I'm
not sure. Brinkman might know that answer. So Brink, if you're Brink can't be listening right now.
Yeah, he's working.
Yeah, that's true. He is working today. So I'm sure Brink will inform us for next time. But I'm not sure. But I do know that those 3 guys definitely worked together in the Bullet Club back when they were all 3 in New Japan Pro Wrestling before they made the move over to WWE.
Right. The next time they do, when they shuffle around the roster again, they need to get them and AJ on the same show so we can just complete it.
Absolutely. So that's really the big story out of Raw right now. And then, of course, also another thing that is worth mentioning, of course, they have the big triple threat Universal title match: Brock Lesnar, Kane, and Braun Strowman. How about that segment this past week? Braun Strowman, I don't know, Cruz, I know you saw it. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Mm-hmm. Basically, Kane and Brock started fighting in the ring, and they start going backstage. Braun comes out of nowhere and bulldozes them both and throws Lesnar around like a rag doll, throws Kane around like a rag doll, and he gets this kind of a hook thing attached to a string, and he throws it up to a top piece of a Titantron, or I guess, or whatever, brings it down on top of Lesnar and Kane, and it was you need to go watch it. It's probably on the YouTube channel WWE. I mean, they needed to do something to make Braun just look so powerful, and they really did a good job of that. Cruz, I know you saw that. What was your reaction when you saw Strowman bring down that thing on top of Kane and Brock Lesnar?
First was my absolute joy out of seeing Brock Lesnar get manhandled. Such a huge Brock Lesnar fan. Everyone knows that. But when he dropped that whatever it was down on him, I was like, oh, he's dead. And then after that subsided, that was a great spot. It was fantastic.
I hope, because I don't know, they're trying to figure out a way to build this match up, and I think they kind of headed the right direction this past Monday. Still got a couple of more Mondays, obviously, to build this match up, and hopefully the match is as good as it can be. I know Strowman and Lesnar can. I don't know. Those two had a match together. Was it No Mercy, I think? And I don't think they got a good star rating on that match. But I do know that the main event at SummerSlam, which featured both Lesnar and Strowman along with Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns, that got a very high rating from Dave Meltzer. So I know Strowman and Lesnar can really tear the house down if they wanted to. And then you have Kane in there, which, in my opinion, I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks. I think Kane is in there just to take the pinfall from Lesnar, so that way you keep Strowman. You don't pin him, and I think Strowman right now it's looking like he will probably go forth into Mania, probably face Triple H. So that's the speculation. Still, obviously, nothing in stone yet, but. That's where I think they go. And what are your thoughts, Ryan, on how they're trying to build this triple threat match at Royal Rumble?
Well, I think they're doing a great job. We also have a story on our Facebook page, MarkOutMania, from Uprocks, and they did an interview with The Big Show, and he says that he believes Braun Strowman will be one of the greatest of all time when it's all said and done.
Yeah, bold prediction. You got something you want to add, Cruz?
I think he'll be fantastic. I absolutely love the guy, and I think they should push him into that greatest ever type situation, because it's been a while since we had like this really gigantic guy, dominating, because I don't think Brock Lesnar's that gigantic.
At least not as gigantic as Braun Strowman. But
no. I
tell you what, WWE, people question a lot of things that they do, but the one thing that they have done right probably in the past year is Braun Strowman, and they're booking him absolutely to the T like they should. So that's kind of what's been going on Raw. We're going to get into the Royal Rumble participants coming up. A little Smackdown review here. Let's see. Becky Lynch, she defeated Ruby Riott. Eric Rowan and Luke Harper defeated Connor and Victor in 36 seconds.
Jeez.
Mojo Rawley defeated Zack Ryder to advance in the U.S. Tag Team U.S. title tournament. Fandango and Tyler Breeze defeated Aiden English and Rusev. That's a big win for that team. And then the main event, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in a handicap match 3-on-2. Now, the SmackDown main event for the Royal Rumble is AJ Styles taking on Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in what is going to be a handicap match for the WWE Championship. And based on what I've seen on SmackDown, the way it's going to go down, if Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens get the pinfall, they're going to be co-WWE champions. And we, as far as I know, I think they said for the first time ever, this will happen. We will have co-WWE champions. And I don't know what's going to happen, because right now, the rumors are that AJ is going to go on to face Nakamura at WrestleMania, but it won't be for the title. So if it won't be for the title, when does AJ drop the title? Does he drop it here at the Royal Rumble? He dropped it last year at the Royal Rumble to Cena, which, by the way, that match is up on the WWE YouTube page. If you haven't seen that match, Cruz, I don't know if you've seen that Cena-Styles match from the Royal Rumble last year. Go to the WWE YouTube page whenever you get the chance in your free time. Go watch that match. It's a really good match. I mean, you know how good Styles is. I mean, he can carry his guys, but that's a really good match. So, I wonder what's going to happen as far as AJ, if he's going to drop the belt. I don't think he should drop the belt, but I think he might at the Royal Rumble, especially if he's going to go on to face Nakamura in a non-title match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, this makes a lot more sense, because last week we broke the news that PW Insider was saying that they were going to use this match to start an angle with KO and with Sami Zayn in a feud. What better way for them to feud if they both have the title? And they're saying, I'm the reason why we have the title. No, I'm the reason why we have the title. Now we got to duke it out. type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, basically, and that's another thing, too. They could be going that way. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, maybe for the WWE Championship. I don't know what they're going to do, so that's something interesting there. But what I want to do now is jump into the Royal Rumble and go over some of the Royal Rumble participants as I get ready to type it in here. There we go, Royal Rumble. And is this the 2018 version? No, I want 2018. And I'm going to go over the people who have thus far declared for the Royal Rumble match. Let's start with the women's side first. Naomi, Asuka, Ruby Riott, Natalya, Sasha Banks, Bayley. They have Paige's name here, but I would think she's probably not going to be in the Royal Rumble. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Carmella, Tamina, Lana, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Mickie James, Nia Jax, and Becky Lynch. Now, looking through that list, what I want to know is the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble one of those women that I just named? Ryan, what do you think?
I think it could be Nia Jax, for sure. Or Asuka. One of the two. That's
what I'm thinking. Cruz, what do you think? Out of those girls I just named, any girl that you think could possibly win the Women's Royal Rumble?
Absolutely. I think that it was announced, and I'm excuse me, I'm kind of with Ryan on that one. What is it, Raw that she's on? Nia Jax is on Raw, right?
Yeah.
They were having this whole angle of, Asuka and Nia Jax beefing, and then Nia Jax beefing with Alexa Bliss and stuff like that. So it kind of sets up those two possibly coming out with the win on it.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of Nia Jax winning the Rumble because right now Alexa Bliss has the title belt, and right now they're besties. But WWE likes to do like last year. They did the whole Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. They were best friends. They split up. They fight each other at WrestleMania. Now you can kind of do the same thing with Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. So I could see Nia Jax winning. Asuka's also obviously a possibility. Sasha Banks, another possibility as well. Right now, I think one of those three. Also, I think the Final Four, this should be the Final Four. Asuka, Becky Lynch, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks. That should be the Final Four. If anybody from the SmackDown side were to win, I'd say Becky Lynch because I could see them doing a Becky Lynch-Charlotte match at WrestleMania. I think that match would be excellent because a couple of years ago at WrestleMania 32, it was a triple threat match. Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch. And when I tell you, if y'all ever get a chance to go watch that match, Becky Lynch, in my opinion, stole the show in that match right there. So Becky Lynch has performed well on the big stage of WrestleMania before, and I could see Becky Lynch possibly winning the Rumble to go on and face Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now let's go over. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I saw a interview with Wrestling Sheet Radio. Awesome Kong / Karma was interviewed, and they were asking her, hey, would you want to be in the Royal Rumble? And she's like, of course I would. What are you thinking? And they asked her, has the WWE contacted her? And she said, no, not at this time. And then they kind of had like an Arthur note. And he said he didn't think they were going to call her because Nia Jax is the new Karma. She's the new big girl that's strong, that you think can hold her own against a dude.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why he thinks Karma won't get the call up to go in. But please, WWE, if anybody from Creative is listening, it could happen. Please give Peyton Royce Paige's spot.
Absolutely, yeah. Because that's another thing I was going to dive into here real quick. Right now, it says they have 17 of the 30 entrants that have been announced. Of course, one of those including Paige, which we expect to not be. So right now, you have 16 girls, or women in this case, and you need 14 more. I mean, looking at this list, I mean, you don't have much more. A name I don't see on here that could also be in the Rumble, Dana Brooke. I don't think. Oh, Bailey's already on the list. So, and then you have some legends, I think, who are going to come back. I think we're going to see Lita.
Yes.
I think we're going to see Trish Stratus.
Yes.
I also think we're going to see Beth Phoenix. And who was that woman, Cruz? You said that just signed with WWE. What's her name?
Candice LeRae.
Candice LeRae. Maybe we see Candice LeRae. A couple of people, you said Peyton Royce, Ryan. Also Ember Moon could be in the Rumble too there. And even with those girls we just named, that still leaves about 5 or 6 slots left
Kylie
open.
Singh, get her in there.
I mean, so I'm really, really interested to see who they're going to get to come back and fill some of these slots. And not only that, I mean, you have Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, who more than likely will be defending their titles at the Royal Rumble, and then you're going to have the people they're facing. And obviously you can have, I think the Women's Royal Rumble is going to start the show. That's my opinion. So I think whoever those two girls are facing for their respective titles, if they defend them, I don't know. Alexa Bliss hasn't defended her title since October, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But I'm really interested to see what women show up, as far as a surprise entrant in the Women's Royal Rumble match. I tell you what, though, I'm very excited. I've been having my fingers crossed for this because the Royal Rumble is my favorite match of the year. And now, not only do we get 2 of them, but we get one with nothing but women. Love women. So, yeah, the Women's Royal Rumble match is going to be interesting to see who shows up there. But now let's dive over now to the Men's Royal Rumble. And some of the entrants there, so far, they only have 11 of the 30 entrants that have been announced. You have Elias, Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura, John Cena, Finn Balor, Baron Corbin, Matt Hardy, Samoa Joe, Bray Wyatt, Rusev, and Aiden English. Now, out of those people I just mentioned, Ryan, do you think the winner is one of those 11 men?
Yes, I think so. I would love to see it be Samoa Joe.
That's actually not a bad pick. I do. I would like that pick. I think he's one of them that could be in the Final Four. We talk about Mark Henry. I was talking about the Final Four. Take Mark Henry out. Obviously, he's not going to be in the Rumble, but put Samoa Joe in that slot because Samoa Joe was my newcomer of the year, and I think he's going to have a big 2018. We talked about Braun Strowman winning the Universal title before the year's up. How about Samoa Joe winning the Universal title? Hell, I wouldn't be upset if he won the Intercontinental title. I think he could win it from Roman Reigns, go off, and him and The Miz could have like a feud.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool because you can kind of transition Joe into maybe a little bit of a face, but he can still act like a heel because they'll cheer for Joe before they cheer for The Miz.
And they're both great talkers. That would be great promo work, too.
Absolutely.
Between them both.
Cruz, any of those guys I mentioned, you see any of them winning? Obviously, one of the names that was not mentioned yet, Roman Reigns, is another guy that's not officially declared yet, could possibly win. But you got like Nakamura, Cena, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Bray Wyatt, Rusev, Randy Orton. I mean, any of those guys you see possibly winning the Royal Rumble?
I'm personally a huge fan of Shinsuke Nakamura, so it might be my fandom talking, but I would love to see him win it. And also, set up AJ Nakamura. That would be amazing.
And yeah, I agree.
Amazing.
Because just because people have said that they're not going to fight for a title doesn't mean that's not going to be what happens. I mean, things obviously change on a daily basis in the world of wrestling. So right now, my original pick was Nakamura, but based on what everybody was saying about them not fighting for a title, I think, and this is my opinion, right now, if I had to guess on someone winning the Royal Rumble, I think it's going to be Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's fairly simple. Roman Reigns wins, Brock retains. Boom, you have the match everybody was expecting. Hopefully, the build-up will be so much better, and hopefully the match can be a little bit better because while the match was not that bad, the match could have been a lot better as well. So I think Reigns, as of right now, wins it. I do reserve the right to change my pick between now and the Royal Rumble preview show, but I think Roman Reigns, because last year he came out number 30, and everybody was so pissed.
Hey, no, you can't change it on the pre-show because we have already, at that moment, we'll have our sheets done.
Well, I have I'm saying like on our preview show, I have between now and the preview show.
You.
Well, once we get to the preview show, which will probably be a few days before the Royal Rumble, by then I will have a lot better idea as to who I think is going to win the Royal Rumble.
I thought you said the WWE pre-show.
No, I mean our preview show is what if I said pre-show, I apologize. I meant our preview show. So, that's what's going down in the Royal Rumble participants. Let's jump now into the rumor mill. Ryan, you have a nice little story for the rumor mill today.
Yeah, a few podcasts ago, PW Insider was reporting that two big stars in Impact, their contracts were coming up fairly quickly, and that was Bobby Ashley and Ethan Carter III. Last night at the Impact taping, they do this little segment called Feast or Fire, where they have like these briefcases, and the stars open it, and, they're either, given like a big match or they're fired. Well, Ethan Carter was fired. So obviously, he did not re-sign, so that means he's a free agent. Could we see Ethan Carter III, which I heard he has filed for a trademark on that. So it'd be interesting to see what Anthem does with that as well. Mm-hmm. Will we see Ethan Carter III as a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble?
That would be, I'm hoping for a lot more surprise entrants because last year I felt like we didn't really get that many surprise entrants. I mean, the number 30 was supposed to be a big surprise, and it turned out to be Roman Reigns. And like I said, everybody was
expecting pissed. Omega.
Well, people were expecting Omega, so people were expecting Finn Balor, and we got Roman Reigns, who I believe was actually in the Universal title match earlier in the night and lost. So nobody was really expecting Reigns, and then when he came out number 30, you just heard the most massive boos that the Alamo Dome may have ever heard, and but he ended up not winning it. Orton won it, which was still, in my opinion, very random, but... so we may get Ethan Carter or Bobby Lashley as maybe some possible surprise entrants. My rumor mill story, obviously the big story with Daniel Bryan. He was offered a big-time contract extension. However, while this extension was going to pay him like a main event wrestler, it basically said he was not going to be competing in the ring, and Daniel Bryan turned it down. And he's been on the record as saying, if he does not wrestle by WrestleMania, or he'll know by WrestleMania what his future is, if we do not see Daniel Bryan wrestle in a WWE ring by April the 8th, or April the 9th for that matter, we're going to be saying goodbye to Daniel Bryan as far as WWE fans, and maybe he goes to Ring of Honor, maybe he goes to New Japan. Either way, I think you at a Ring of Honor, you'll obviously be involved with New Japan with their working relationship, but, as of right now, I fully expect Daniel Bryan to not wrestle a WWE match, and I fully expect him to leave WWE, and I fully expect him to go wrestle for a Ring of Honor or a New Japan, and I'm not going to say Impact, but, I mean, look, anybody that's going to let him wrestle, he's going to have his ears open, and he's going to be ready to go wrestle anywhere else that they will let him wrestle, and I guarantee you any other company will be more than happy to open their arms to Daniel Bryan and say, come join us and help us grow this company. New Japan, in my opinion, is obviously the biggest, would be the biggest, I guess, I don't know the word I'm looking for, biggest deal he could make, I guess, to go to New Japan, because he could be a main eventing Wrestle Kingdom next year. So I know there's some people that disagree with that, but I think it'd be pretty cool because he's one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to showcase it on the big stage of WWE. But as of right now, I fully expect Daniel Bryan to leave WWE sometime after WrestleMania when his contract's over, and he'll be wrestling by the end of the year at least in another promotion. Cruz, what do you think?
Absolutely, which kind of makes me happy because. If he does sign with New Japan, we may get a John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt versus John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt Part 2, and that would make me excited.
I tell you what, with the way New Japan wrestles and the way Daniel Bryan can wrestle in the ring, man, absolutely. He could put on some great matches with Okada. Him and Omega would be an amazing match. If Jericho, because I think Jericho's actually going to stick around a little bit longer than everybody anticipated. If Daniel Bryan goes there, Daniel Bryan versus Jericho down the line somewhere, because that match would draw even more WWE fans to go watch it. So, if I'm New Japan, I'm taking full advantage of the fact that Daniel Bryan's going to want to leave and go somewhere else. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, and and obviously Daniel Bryan's wired different than I am. It reminds me of when LeBron James signed with the Miami Heat. You had the owner, who is a Russian billionaire for the New Jersey Nets, told LeBron, my life goal will be to make you a billionaire. Obviously, I know how to do it because I'm a billionaire. Mm-hmm. I'd have been like, where's the dotted line? But he wanted to win championships. Same thing here with Daniel Bryan. He wants to wrestle. But myself, if I was in that situation and I was having seizures after I had concussions and they offered me main event level pay not to wrestle, where's that dotted line, son?
Absolutely. So, yeah, Daniel Bryan fully expected to, in my opinion, leave WWE sometime after WrestleMania. One more thing we're going to talk about before we wrap it up here. Austin Aries, he's doing pretty well for himself after departing WWE. What's been going on with Austin Aries?
Yeah, Austin Aries has been traveling all over the world in different indie productions. Was it yesterday that he won? Or a few days ago.
Last couple of days, yeah.
Yeah, last couple of days he won the Impact Heavyweight Championship of the world. And that brought his belt total up to 4 belts. He holds 2 different UK belts, I think like a promotion in Australia, and now Impact. So he's doing quite well for himself after the WWE departure.
Do you think Impact greatly benefits from having Austin Aries as far as... Because right now they're kind of just in the cellar dweller of the wrestling companies, and they're not doing so hot. But getting Austin Aries, that's kind of a coup to get. I mean, he's got 4 belts, and now he is your champion after beating Eli Drake. And I mean, what do you think as far as Austin Aries moving forward in Impact? How that can affect the popularity of Impact?
I don't think it'd do anything for the popularity of Impact. I think they're far too gone. And the fact that they're moving to Canada and they're going to start using regional talent instead of name talent, I think they've already given up on their brand because they've been trying to sell it for a while and nobody will buy it. I think they're just going to let it die off silently on Pop Network.
And then that just leaves the likes of WWE and Ring of Honor here in America. So
the only person that benefits is Aries because he's going to get a paycheck, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully their check doesn't bounce. I was listening to Cornette the other day. He said at times Impact Wrestling was like $70 to $90 million in debt. And there was months where they would lose $7, $9, $10, $12 million a month. He said it was absolutely... No, that was Paul Lee dangerously during one of his things because he was going to take over operations. And I guess it fell through or anything like that. Paul Lee could have changed that company for sure.
Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, Austin Aries doing mighty well for himself. It's a shame he had to leave WWE because I was really liking me some A-double up there in WWE. So, Ryan, anything else you want to add here as we get ready to wrap it up?
No, man, I just want to thank all our Pateron supporters out there, especially Cruz. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Cruz, thanks for joining us, man. I'm digging the LSU beanie you got on there that nobody else can see. So, Cruz, any other time you want to come hop on, man, you're a Patreon member, so... we'd love to have you on, especially when New Japan, because we know you're a big New Japan guy now. So whenever New Japan has some big events and we want some big news in New Japan, we'd love to have you back on, man. So thanks for joining us.
Not a problem. It was great. My first wrestling podcast. This was fantastic. I loved it.
Awesome. Man. Well, Ryan, with that being said, man, go ahead and send us out.
Yeah, you can find us online, MarkOutMania.com. Find us everywhere. Social media, where you can download the podcast, videos, and a whole lot more. MarkOutMania.com. With that said, for Cruz, Patrick, my name is Ryan. We are out of here. Have a good one, guys. Outro. Oh, Patrick, do it.
Hit that outro.
You've been listening to the MarkOutMania podcast, a Lake Area Media, LLC production. The views and opinions expressed in this show are those of Ryan Keith and Patrick Fry and are not affiliated with any wrestling promotion or company. Follow MarkOutMania on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. For all MarkOutMania links, news, and free podcasts, visit MarkOutMania.com. You've been marked.